Welcome to Hochoka Podcast.
Been here, done that. Let's get acquainted with a former student. Hello, Matakiepi, and welcome to Hochoka here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian School's campus. I'm Scott Wooster, today's Hochoka host. We're glad you've joined our circle for perspectives of staff and students who are part of our Thiyóšpaye. Today, we'll talk with Larry Jandreau, a student here from 1960 to 1964. Larry is currently the Director of Facilities Management for the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe, and he's a member of St. Joseph's Indian School's Board of Directors. So welcome, Larry. It's good to have you here at Hochoka. Yeah. So if you can just, I gave a title and told a little bit about your connection here. Can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself? Just give us a thumbnail sketch of who you are.
Yeah, right now, presently, I'm the facility manager for the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe. Mm-hmm. I'm also the emergency manager for the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe. Been involved with the fire department. I was actually a fire chief for, my fire service for the Lower Brule Sioux Tribe and for the Bureau of Indian Affairs has been about 38 years.
Okay.
And emergency management has been a part of that, so that's another hat that I wear.
Mm-hmm. And you were a student here, and you've also had grandchildren that have gone to school here.
Correct.
Over time,
Yes.
A few here and there. I used to work with one in particular, been about, 15 years maybe by now. And your biggest claim to fame, I think, is that your wife, Jewel, is now she's on the council for the tribe, right? I mean,
I'm kind of under the gun here, so yes, that's my biggest claim to fame.
Well, let's let that define you, shall we?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you were here early on in the game, 60 to 64. You were part of the Thiyóšpaye, or the family here at St. Joe's Indian School. Can you just give viewers an idea what that might have been like back in the day?
Back in the day, I had been in, before that, I was in an orphanage.
Okay.
And in foster homes. And our family was able to get us back from that environment. And we were, then we came to St. Joe's. Those were back in the days when I think a lot of our Native American students were here with their family involvement, but people economically weren't as in good a shape as we are today. Mm-hmm. So basically we were here to get a better education. Mm-hmm. And that I feel really good about, and it's helped me in my life through education. After that, I went on to another Indian boarding school for high school, and St. Joe's, actually all of the students that were at St. Joe's that went to the same high school, we were all at the top of our class.
Nice. So the educational benefits were evident on your
Exactly.
report cards.
Yeah, we education standards that they had here were very, they carried us through life, or carried myself through life. I was able to, I could go any place. And later on, I was able to go out to Indiana and work in the steel plant, where I became a production line electrician.
Okay.
But it stemmed from my education at St. Joe's.
Okay. And though it was from 60 to 64, how old would you have been, or what grades would you have attended here?
It would have been from the fourth grade through the eighth grade.
Through the eighth grade. And did you graduate eighth grade here with the I don't know if they had a graduation celebration then? Okay.
Yeah, I was very fortunate because my grandmother at that time was taking care of us kids, and there was 5 of us on the Lower Brule Reservation, so I was able to, she was in attendance.
Okay. Yeah.
She's 84 years old.
Yeah.
And I was at a graduation ceremony. I was designated as the best all-around male student.
Nice.
That year.
Yeah.
However, I felt really bad because my brother, academically, was probably smarter than I was.
Yeah.
But I was involved in more things. I was involved in sports. I was involved in plays. I was involved in square dancing, Indian dancing, all these different activities. And I apologized to him that, it made me very proud that my grandma was there and she was able to share. But I felt bad for him that he was every bit, he was a better student than I was.
Yeah. But what I take from that is, humility, of course, on your part, I think, in that of and caring for your family member, but also you focus, on the question about the educational piece, what it gave you when you took that on to not only the next school, but in your career, but, all these other things were happening there too at the school, and I wouldn't have thought about it as being that well-rounded of an education to have all the extracurricular activities here at the school back in the early 60s at that time, those kinds of things. So you took a lot from here besides just the academic piece of it.
Definitely, and I became a production line electrician, and I did a lot of reading to pass time because we were lonesome for our families, and I would read, and I read about Thomas Edison.
Mm-hmm.
He was born on the same birthday that I have, and I carried that through. I mean, and that was at 4th and 5th grade.
Wow, yeah.
That I wanted to be an electrician.
Right.
Which is kind of ironic, but I, was being reading and stuff like that they prompted, us to read and learn about other parts of the country, the world, and I was very thankful that I had gotten that at an early age.
Right, broadened your horizons, definitely. I've worked here for 30 years, and I had the benefit of being here after changes were made to the home living structure here. We live in the family groups on campus, or home groups on campus, where there are 12 kids to a home, typically 12 kids to a classroom, and it's nice, manageable sizes, and it gives it a little more of that family feel or an intimate feel. When you were here, it wasn't like that, right? You had 50 kids to one staff in the dorm. It was still in the old dorm. Am I right about that?
Yeah, there was, I don't remember the number, but there was a lot of us, and it was a dorm setting.
Right.
So we were pretty much, I think, for manageability.
Yeah.
We were a number. We wore our key to our locker. We always had to have it around our neck.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of identified us, and it kept track of also that we always had our key.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't good if you didn't have your key.
Right.
So everybody had a key, and it kind of you were identified with a number just so that it was easier to manage that many people.
It's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids. And I'm too young, obviously, and too new to St. Joe's. It sounds strange to say when I've been here for 30 years. I'm too new to St. Joe's to have known that time. But this is in the middle of the baby boom, and I think generally nationwide, that was how the ratios worked out in classrooms. I mean, they were big wherever you were going to go, but not too big that you must have found your own individuality here and been able to connect with staff and got to know people, or they got to know you as Larry Jandreau instead of just one of the kids?
I don't know that, but I always had the compassion for other kids. I had been in an orphanage before, and that was a cold environment. Mm-hmm. So when I came here, I really had a lot of compassion for other kids around me because they didn't come from an orphanage, and I did, and that compassion. But I think my time here at a young age, I was able to develop compassion for people, and that the next person closest to you, their life might have been totally, a lot more chaotic than what I went through.
Right.
And I always appreciated it, and I think through spiritual health, here at St. Joe's, I was able to develop that compassion for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped me even in my career to this day.
Right.
That, it's not about us, it's about who we can help and how we can help. And
That's a great story. True. I'm glad you brought that to the school then too. So I hear that you were well acquainted with Brother Matthias, who's kind of a legend here, has a home named after him, and people kind of consider him to be sort of a treasure of the school. This is a long time ago. So he's a German SCJ who arrived here in 1935, not long after the school was founded, began as a shoemaker for the school, and he was really invested in the native culture. You got to know him well, it sounds like. Can you just give us a couple of stories about Brother Matthias, or tell us what you might know?
Yeah, Brother Matthias, I was lucky enough to be one of the students that was picked to be a part of and I'm just going to say this, I don't remember that they specifically call it the Native American Club or anything like that, or the dance club or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I was fortunate enough to be able to bead for him. Mm-hmm. And you had to be pretty good to bead for him. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, he would get someone else. Mm-hmm. And so I think we had three beaders. We beaded all the beadwork for the costumes. Mm-hmm. And through that, I was involved with the dancers and everything like that. So I could dance also. Mm-hmm. And I never had any kind of training like that at home, but I developed it through him.
Wow, okay.
A German brother.
Right.
And I think I developed a lot of character from him in that he didn't baby anybody. Everybody had to do their part. Mm-hmm. And we did a lot of projects with him that it had to be just about perfect.
Yeah.
But in his stern way, we knew he cared about us. Yeah. And he didn't, we didn't get a lot of compliments or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, when things got done, or when the dancers would go someplace and everything like that, and you'd see your beadwork and everything out there on display, and how good the dancers were and everything like that, everybody just felt good about themselves. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't that he just had a manner about him, and I picked up on that throughout my life, that I want to develop a level of excellence in anything I do. Mm-hmm. And that's how he was. He expected that from us kids, but in a good way.
Right.
In a good way.
Expected the best from you, so you would expect the best from yourself, it sounds like. Yeah. Yep. I understand there's kind of an interesting story that involves a porcupine and Brother Matthias. You want to share that one with our viewers? Yeah,
definitely. We, on weekends, we would get to go out in the hills, and we would, myself and a couple other boys, we would run as far as we could. And later on, that's all. Running was a part of my athletic endeavors and stuff like that. And there was a lot better runners at St. Joe's, but they never run as far as we did. Yeah. And we would run, I'm going to say 4 or 5 miles out as far as you can go. And we would come back, and we would always go through the same areas, the same meadows, the same places along the river. We couldn't go to the river, but we could get close to it. But there was a kind of a border that we couldn't get any closer to the river. And so one time I had mentioned to him, because he was always looking for materials, and I mentioned to him that we had seen a porcupine, and when we would go out in the hills, we always knew where that porcupine was. Mm-hmm. And we respected the area because of that animal. Right. It just seemed like that was inherent with all the things he had taught us about our own people. Mm-hmm. And so we wouldn't disturb it, and it was always there. And so I had told him about it, and he said, I'd like to get some quills. And he said, if you could get that beaver back here, or that porcupine, if you can get that back here, we could use the quills.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh,
so
no.
we're thinking, this is kind of different than anything that, everything's so structured at the school, but it's like, he's given us a challenge, but he's for us, he's go out and do it. So we went out there and we found the porcupine, and I thought about our own people, how they would go after game to eat and stuff like that, and how you would do that. Well, once we got into the dynamics of killing a porcupine and everything like that, it was a pretty tedious job, and something that after we had done the deed, we had to get it back to the school. So at first there's 3 of us, 2 of us had carried 4 ways, and we were going up and down the hills, and it was pretty slow going. So we found some wire, and we wired up the front and back legs, and then we stuck a pole through it so someone could walk in front, the other person walk in back, and kind of have the beaver or the porcupine between you. And it took us forever to get back, and it was hard work, and we got it back. And I got a hold of Brother Matthias, and I said, we got the porcupine back. And he said, in his German accent, let me see it. So we took it to him, and he said to us, that you boys did a real good job. I just wish it was an older porcupine. The quills aren't as dried out and everything like that. They're not the size as it, but he did. We used what quills we could, but we just felt like we had done a major accomplishment, And he was he was okay with it. He used different materials off of the porcupine, but
I thought you were going to tell me that you had to bring it back alive, which was going to be that would have been a over the top, right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's a good story. Thank you. Are there any other stories, memories about the school that you'd like to share with us today?
I would like to share this. Brother Steve was our prefect for the big boys.
Okay, yeah.
And in Lower Brule, we had a principal that was at the Lower Brule High School, and he was getting ready to leave. He hadn't been at our school very much. And at the time, I was the union president for the teachers. And there wasn't a good relationship between the teachers and the administration. And he was getting ready to leave, and he hadn't been there very long. And him and I, through union politics and stuff like that, we had a relationship. At times it wasn't the best, because I was representing the teachers, and he was on the other side. And he had told me that, he said, when I leave here, if things go wrong, it's because I'm not here anymore. And then if things continue to go well, it's because I was here. And I said to him, don't pat yourself on the back too much, because I said, if in 25 years, one of your students can walk up to you and shake your hand and say thank you for the things you've done for me when I was a student, then you can take that as an accomplishment. And the reason I said that was because I could relate to it. I had seen Brother Steve in Chamberlain 25 years later. I walked up to him and I shook his hand, and I told him I appreciated the things he did for me at St. Joe's.
Right.
And he did it. We got into bowling. I could consistently bowled over 200. He got us into ping pong. I was a good ping pong player. He got us into pool. I was a fairly good pool player. But he really tried to get us kids into, not so much thinking about the bad things about where we were and everything like that, as far as, missing our families. but he kept us active.
Yeah.
And he was left-handed, so he would try to teach us, and most of us are right-handed,
Yeah.
but we learned so much from him.
Right. And that's great, and it sticks with you, and it's the relationships, I'm sure, of those people from the 1960s that stick with you today. Not so much what they did or what they said or any of that stuff, but, you know, you remember Matthias fondly, you remember Steve fondly, and that's great.
Well, it helped us develop our characters.
Absolutely.
At that age.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I say students and kids develop character through things you do like that, and how you're. We were expected to do things, and that was good.
Yeah, glad you had people like that, and good experiences like that. What would you most want to tell parents about how you experience the school today? We talked about the history of you being here. How do you experience that as an elder, you know, coming back and being able to give back to the school where you went to school? What's that like for you?
Because my wife and I, we've been directly involved for quite a few years. 12 years ago at least was when Terrell and Grace were here.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've been, involved with St. Joe's ever since. And to me, what I think of most is when I've been involved, because we definitely were involved. We could see the feelings in the kids' eyes, and they have a bright outlook. We've seen such glee, we've seen such exuberance of what the school brings in their hearts, and when, rather than noticing our own grandkids, I would look around at the other students, and how are they exhibiting their character and displaying, how they feel, because it comes out. And so I'm looking for the students that are having a hard time, or they're not outgoing, and it just seems like the character of the school gets them where they're they're polite, they want to share things, they want to listen to you, they just appreciate. And those were the things that I felt so good about, because as an older person and having gone here, it's all about our future. It's all about all of our tribes, the future generations, and how they perceive life.
If you have a kid that goes to school here, meet with the staff, get to know them, and we have to become a team. If you want the kid to succeed, you have to become a team. So I think the message that I took from you for parents is that we want you involved, because we're better for the kid if we do it that way. So, and you've done that as a parent who's worked with us. You've done it as a man who serves on our committee, and your wife Jewel has served on that committee too. And it's an honor to have you work with us here. Truly is, and we thank you for. It's great to have a former student come back and do what you're doing, and just be a good partner for our school, but more importantly, just as a good partner for the kids and to help them up. You did that in the 60s with the younger kids, watching out for them, and you continue to do it today. So we appreciate that. And so I say Wopila to you, Larry, and I also say thank you for being on the show today on Ho-Chokeh and just sharing that with our visitors. So thank you very much. And so we thank you for talking with us today, and we thank all our viewers for joining us here at the St. Joseph's Indian School campus at Ho-Chokeh, where we talk about issues that are central to Native American education today. Until the next time, stay centered.